Welcome to another Garage Time with Goody, and today what we're going to be doing is installing just a regular everyday backup camera on a 2011 Dodge Avenger 3.6 liter engine. Is this what your car looks like when you're trying to back up? Are you a beginner? And does that intimidate you when you can't see directly behind you? Well, why not install a backup camera? They're very cheap and reliable. Okay, what I'm going to do first is open up the trunk. I'm going to be taking this pry tool and I'm going to pry this plastic rivet out. So then I'm going to pull this liner down like so, and then that will give me access to these two little plastic nuts. I don't know if you can see these or not. These two little plastic nuts. There's one here at the top, and I'm just going to unscrew it. This is also a way to do this if you're going to be installing a new bulb or a new assembly. This will also work for that. But these nuts come out like this. Take a plastic spudger and I'm going to put it here at the end of this light and just push it forward. And that way, the reason I'm using a plastic spudger, that way I don't scrape the paint, and this is going to pull forward just like that. It's kind of dirty in there. Alternatively, what's holding it in on the other side is this plastic connection here that's connected to here on the inside. If you don't want to take that plastic spudger and push it out at an angle, you could take a rubber mallet and just tap this and it'll push out all the same. Now on this car we want to figure out which one is the brake light of these wiring harnesses. So you may want to have a partner to go put on the brakes for you and to find out which one of these lights are the reverse light. And it is this one right here. On the other side of this assembly there is a clip right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, and I can see that this right here, these two wires, there is a white and green wire, and then there's a black wire. This is to the backup light. So when you put your car in reverse, this harness is going to get 12 volts of power. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this one too, and I'm going to set this light in the trunk for now. So now if you were going to be replacing any burnt out bulbs, now would be a good time to do that. Or if you were going to replace the whole tail light assembly, now's also a good time to do that since you know how to do it. Now what I'm going to be doing next, you can go behind the license plate, and I'm going to take a metal coat hanger and I'm going to tape the wiring harness to it, and I'm going to run it up. I'm going to run it up through the bumper, up through here until it comes up through here, and this is where the right passenger side tail light is. Here's the camera right here. Now the first thing you want to do is make sure that the camera has no film or protector over it, and this one does. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull that off, because if you don't, it's not going to have a very clear picture. Now I'm going to mount this camera. This is what they call a license plate camera, and it's going to mount with the license plate screws. So I'm going to go ahead and take the license plate screws off. This right here is an RCA cord, and it's roughly about 30 feet long. And this is what you call a wired system and not a wireless one. I've chosen to use a wired system, so because the car is relatively short, and I'm just going to wire it instead of using a wireless transmitter, so that way there's no electrical interference or anything of that nature. I'm going to take a metal coat hanger. This is metal, by the way. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to tape it to the end. And just like I showed you a minute ago, I can show you again. I'm going to run it, I'm going to put it up through here, underneath here, and I'm going to run it to the right. Here and come up here with the end of the coat hanger. So what I can do now is get these wires that I needed off of here, off of the coat hanger or the clothes hanger, whatever you want to call it. And as you can see, I have the video feed wire that was connected to it and the actual power wire. And I went ahead and pulled the clothes hanger on up through there. I'm going to make sure that this camera is pointed the right direction. On this one, I've already looked at the instructions. The wire is pointed upward. So this is the up of the camera, and once it's on there, it can be adjusted to look down or up. So go ahead and mount this camera onto the license plate. You mount it with the license plate. I'm just going to take my fingers at first and get it started on each side. Then I'm going to take the Phillips screwdriver and screw this on until it's snug. Now don't tighten it too tight or you will break this plastic that is on the camera. You don't want to break it. Make sure it's snug but not breakable. And you can always adjust this camera later. See how you can adjust it up and down? You can adjust that later when you get everything wired up. Over here is those two wires that we fed up through there with the metal clothes hanger. Now this one is going to be the video wire. You will see a rubber grommet right here. I'm going to remove that rubber grommet and I'm going to feed this video cord to inside of the trunk, because eventually I'm going to be running it through the seats, through the back seats and along rocker panels, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to run that wire into the trunk. And put that rubber grommet back on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove back on this pigtail that goes to the backup lights the wiring where it kind of looks like this. There's a break in the connection on each side here, and I'm going to wire this into each side. Now the black wire is going to be the ground, and the white wire, of course, is going to be the positive. And I'm going to wire that in to the pigtail. I'm going to do the same with the other side with the negative wire. if you can remember the video hookup that we hooked to the camera by the license plate, has this little red wire. This is for when you activate your backup lights. This sends 12 volts through that red wire. And on a lot of stereo systems, they're going to have a wire that says reverse, reverse trigger, trigger, or backup. Now, in this car, it's not going to, because I'm going to be wiring this to an independent monitor that it's going to be hooking to. And this is going to be sitting on the dash. And it has a button here when I want to use it. It just pops up like this. And this is a 4.3-inch screen. What I'm going to be doing on this is it has two video inputs. It has white for a second one, yellow for the main one, and red is the trigger or power hookup. So this wire here that's coming out of the bumper right here is really this wire on the other side. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be taking a butt connector. This is a 16 gauge butt connector. And I'm going to connect this down on here. And I had some extra wire of the same grade, and I'm going to extend this wire up. I'm going to push that in there, down in there as far as I can, to make sure it's going to get a good connection. I'm going to clamp it down. Use the wire stripper. And before you tie this down on that connector, you also put it into the positive connection onto that wiring harness. So you have two powered connections that's going to be running off of the wiring harness. And I'm going to individually use electrical tape on each side. And once they're both together, now I'm going to go from near the top of where the pigtail is and just go downward with the electrical tape. Looks like this in the end. There's the wiring harness. There's the two connectors for the rear bulbs. And I'm going to go ahead and take these wires now. I'm going to tuck them back down in the bumper, out of the way. And I'm going to get the rear tail light ready to reassemble to the car. You'll see that the clip goes in this way, upside down. You might be able to hear it snap in place. There's a snap. This one is going to go top side up where the clip is at the top. Then you can hear it snap into place. And you're going to want this screw to go into this square place. And this plastic peg is going to go in right there. And then you just give it a push. And once it's in and it's lined up, you're going to take these two plastic nuts, and one is going to go in right here. And you're going to tighten it down. Make sure it's good and flush. Then there's one right above it. So right here and right here. And I'm going to be tightening it down. And remember, just snug it, not Incredible Hulk strength. This is plastic. Before I run the wire through the car, I'm going to make sure this system is working. You should have in your kit got a wiring harness that looks like this, that's going to plug into your monitor. and it's going to go on to the positive one. I don't need to really do anything with the negative one yet. The trigger or the power into the power, and we're going to hook the yellow wire into the video wire. I'm going to set this here, and I am going to go turn on the backup camera while my partner watches that. And now you'll see if it's actually working. Now that we've had a successful test with the monitor, all you need is the trigger, which is also the power wire. Optionally, you can ground the second wire if you need to, but it's really already grounded in here in the tail light. So that's where the red wire goes. The red wire in this case is going to be providing the 12 volts when the backup lights are on. If you have a different stereo, you may have a connector for that red wire that says reverse or backup, something of that nature, and then you would plug in your RCA video. But like I said, in this case, we have our own monitor, and it's going to be providing power and the trigger, and the RCA is going to be going into the yellow. So I went ahead and done up the connection with electrical tape, and I'm going to run it through the trunk up through the back seats. I pulled this down right here, and I ran the wire behind this, and I laid down the passenger seat since I have hooked the wiring harness to the passenger back tail light. Now that is my preference. You could have used the driver's side tail light, but in my case, I just wanted to hook it to the passenger side. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be running the wire along the passenger side. I have the seat down, and we'll be going up that way. As you can see, this is the back, and the seat is laid down, and here's the wire that I'm running out here, and it is going to be going down here along the running board. It is plastic, and I'm going to be taking this up, and then it's going to allow me to access this carpet, and I'm going to tuck the wire underneath there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the pry tool, and right here and right here, and this should lift up. And back here, it should go under this lip and lift this one up. And it's going to come out just like this. See how it has these two clips holding it in? And I'm going to take the wire. I'm going to set it under with this wiring harness. I'm going to put it right along here with this all the way up as far as I can. I'm going to run it along this plastic piece. I'm just simply going to push this piece back down and clip it into place. I have ran it across the running board to the front here. And I'm going to take this off the front. It should just pull right up. I'm going to take that wire. I'm going to pull this plastic piece up just a little bit right there. And if you can't do it by hand, you can just take the pry tool, lift it up like that. You can put this wire underneath there, and you can see this pops out too. And I'm gonna run this up underneath and behind there. Then you pop this back into place. And then you see how this has 3 clips here. Can you see that? And that's gonna pop back into place right there. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna take this sticker, which is the mounting sticker, and I'm gonna put it on the bottom of this, of the monitor. I'm gonna line it up, make sure it goes on there good. Just like that. I'm gonna press down on it a little bit. I'm not gonna take this double side off until I know where I want it to sit. I'm gonna put it in the flattest spot possible. It's on there really good. It's mounted. It's gonna look like that when I back up. It's gonna give me a backup camera. I'm gonna adjust these parking lines to where I think it's just right, aligned with the distance in the car in the back. What I'm gonna do next is put this over here. Okay, over here, I've used this to pry this right here loose. It goes behind there. And I'm running the wire up from here to here. So instead of just pulling this out, just go ahead and pull this rubber forward and off of the track. And you can move it to the side like that. And go ahead and line up these clips here with the dash. And you'll see it's on there good. And then you'll just put the rubber back on. This weather strip. Make sure it's back on there good. And then the wire is ran. Last but not least, you will want a partner inside of the car as you're adjusting the camera. You want a partner inside of the car as you're adjusting this camera to reflect the actual distance from the back of your car to the start or to the other car, so you can judge your distance accordingly. Once you are finished, you can go ahead and test your backup camera. Once you put it in reverse, then your backup camera will come on. And you will see that once the camera is adjusted on the outside, you'll now be able to see behind you easily. And when you're done with the camera, you can simply push it down. That is how you install just a plain Jane backup camera with its own independent monitor, the wired version. If you find this video helpful, please smash that like button. Consider subscribing to my channel. And until next time, I will see you later.